Okay, so let's finish up these disorders. Sorry about the bell. But we're going to start with muscular dystrophy. Okay, so muscular dystrophy is a disease. It is terminal, and it is when the muscle cells deteriorate. They deteriorate to the point where you have no more muscle left to use. Um, Eventually, um, you can't breathe or swallow anything. It's a sad disease. It is a genetic disease. It appears a lot of parents miss it when their kids are little because like there's milestones that you hit sitting up or rolling over. And like, for instance, my daughter didn't walk until she was 14 months old without holding on to me. So that is considered a late walker, but she was completely normal, whereas my son was walking by the time he was a year old. So a lot of parents miss the signs of muscular dystrophy because they just think that, it takes some kids longer to do things than others. But what happens is the child appears normal at birth, and then they start hitting these milestones late. And then the parents notice that, like, maybe they're too weak to sit up, like they can sit up, but then they just fall over. And they're at an age where, yeah, okay, maybe sitting up took a little bit longer, but they should be able to sit up. These muscles are deteriorating and they're becoming weak. Most of the muscle cells die as they grow. They usually lose their ability to walk when they're by 9 or age 9 to 11. Now, they treat this disease with respiratory therapy, physical therapy, orthopedic appliances, and drug therapy. And when they're talking about orthopedic appliances, they're talking about braces. They're talking about Hoyer lifts, sit to stand, um, splints, things that keep that person comfortable and encourage mobility. Eventually, though, the end does come. Some of the patients that have this live until their early 20s or so. I knew a doctor and his wife. They did not have the genetic gene because it is a genetic disease. It was actually a mutation. They had 5 children, 4 were normal, 1 was born with a genetic mutation, and he developed Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. The next one is myasthenia gravis. Now, the difference between muscular dystrophy and myasthenia gravis is that myasthenia gravis is muscle weakness, and it is in connection to a nerve problem. So, muscular dystrophy is a disease that's genetic, and it's the muscle cells dying. It's an actual muscular disease, whereas myasthenia gravis is connected to the muscles. The nerves. So it's muscle weakness. And what happens is there's a problem between the nerves and the muscle. It's an autoimmune disease, and the body attacks this. So the muscles become weak over time, and it becomes more pronounced with activity. So when somebody has myasthenia gravis, a lot of activity can make them very weak. So rest is the prescription for that. And they do have medicines. So, like they have people with myasthenia gravis often take cholinesterase. And what that does is it prevents the breakdown of acetylcholine. In people with myasthenia gravis, the acetylcholine breaks down really fast. So they have that very weak response to the stimulation. So they take cholinesterase, and that prevents the breakdown of acetylcholine. It can go into remission. I had a resident that told me that she had myasthenia gravis as a young person. It was diagnosed. She went into remission for 46 years. It came back in 2016, and she's now in a nursing home. She can no longer function. Her muscles are so weak. Then we have heel spur. Okay, and heel spurs are caused by calcium deposits on the calcaneus, or they're deposited on the plantar fascia near the calcaneus bone. And it's what causes plantar fasciitis, which is an inflammation of your plantar fascia. And it can be very painful. A couple of years ago, I had to use a little rolling scooter because my right foot needed to rest. The plantar fasciitis was so bad I couldn't walk. I developed bursitis. It was awful, but eventually it healed. Um, the causes, usually walking and running. So the year that I got plantar fasciitis, I was doing 2 clinicals, which was 8 hours on Sunday and 10 hours during the week. So I was really stretched to max on my feet for hours and hours and hours a week. So it was, that's why I got it. The treatment is rest, massage therapy, stretching, anti-inflammatory medications, and orthotics, which is foot support, the things you slide into your shoes, and that will help you with your plantar fasciitis. The last thing I want to talk about, I know it's not on the slide, but you're still going to need to know it, is compartment syndrome. Compartment syndrome is when there's a swelling of the muscle. So say you injure a muscle. Muscles can bleed. There's vessels inside there. And what happens is if it really bleeds a lot, it swells, and the fascia covering the muscle, it covers the whole muscle and or the muscle group. Uh, it doesn't have any give. So I talked about this before with you guys, where the doctor has to go in, it has to be treated surgically. Usually they cut open the fascia. They have to leave it open to relieve the swelling. And then when the swelling goes down, they go back in and they close the fascia. But it can, it's a really long process. People are usually up, spend several weeks not being able to use whatever the muscle was that was swollen. And, it can be, if you don't treat it, it cuts off the circulation to a limb, or the muscle dies. It's not something you can ignore. And it's exceedingly painful. People can't ignore compartment syndrome. It's just terrible pain. All right. I think that's the end of this, and I will see you guys back in class.